All right, welcome to another episode of Comic Book Squares. We're going to be talking to another artist today. My name is Shane.
I'm Paul.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Mike. Let's get this show started.
So welcome to another episode. We've got a great artist with us today, and I just want to, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your art, that would be fantastic.
Well, my name is Willy Mendes as a comic artist, and I began in the early 70s in the underground comic movement, which for me started in New York, and we all moved to San Francisco at the same time. And I did that till about 72, 73 when they stopped publishing women. So I'm a painter. I went back to painting for 50 years and did a lot of, became religious in the meantime, did a lot of Torah art, Bible art, had some sales and things. And it was a miracle that brought me back, but I don't know how much you want me to run off about everything. But I came back to comics in 2016. In 2015, I wrote a new comic, Queen of Cosmos Comix. Just at the time, I was getting disillusioned with the patriarchy of this incredible edifice of connection to God that you get with this incredible learning. But I couldn't swallow the whole patriarchal nature of it. While I was having those thoughts, a miracle happened, and I got a professor called me up. 50 years later, he remembered my Realm of Karma Comics, page 1. I was 22 years old, I had a baby at my breast, and I knew I made the best page ever. And to have it validated 50 years later by a professor, I'm like, that's it, I'm going back to comics. In fact, his name is Robert Lovejoy. He wrote something on the back of the first volume of Queen of Cosmos Comix. So I call the whole series Our Love Children. It's our love child. He's Robert Lovejoy. It's because he called me, 50 years later, professor must have put it in a college textbook. That's brought me back to comics. So my new comics are our, and then I told him, darling, we're expecting again. There's volume 2. So it's a really good joke that I run by every time. So I'm back, and then God sent me miracles along the way. Everything with me is miracles. If you read my comics, you'll find that that's what one of the subject matters. There I am at Comic-Con to be on panels with Trina Robbins for the women's comics and later for her Minyan Yidden, which I did the cover of. Because see, I'm a Jewish dove. Trina wrote a Jewish book in the shtetl, and I was a natural for the cover. Did a beautiful oil painting. So, in fact, I have it. I'll show you later. So, that's when I had a book to sell, a new book. I'm looking for a publisher at Comic-Con. And I didn't find the first year, but the second year I found Red 5 Comics. And now I have a publisher, and he told me to make the second volume. And I'm working on the third.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us a little bit about the book itself, just so the audience who's watching this might not be familiar with it?
The book is called Queen of Cosmos Comix. Imagine God. It's a metaphor for God. But me being a woman and also half the other people on the planet, why wouldn't it be in our own image? Why wouldn't our metaphor be a female? And so each volume of this series starts in Bible times. You have 2 chapters in Bible times. So the first volume starts with creation, the created world, only it's humorous, and it takes into account evolution, things that we know, the dinosaurs, that not in the old Bible. And to me, the big crime was when the men took over. So then chapter 2, we get to Noah. They go, the angel goes, let's destroy the world. Males ruined it. And she's like, no, don't do it, because the Noah's gals have good family. Excuse me, everybody knows I'm a smoker. I mean, I'd love to just why don't we do it this way? So she goes like, let's create a world, and then I'll do the chapter heads. And then, so Noah is let's flood the world. Okay, so then after 2 chapters, we're done with the Bible. And it says 10,000 years later, which in my mind brings us to our era, right? When I lived. And it says, and this one is, so this is chapter 3, and it's called Let's Make a Miracle Girl. And it's about, I told you, if I told you my life, it'd be so many miracles. And I just wrote them all into the 6-page story. It's very tiny and very dense. First of all, this great childhood, and the angels go, whoa, wait, 2 nights, right? And the queen goes, but I have plagues planned, right? She enumerates 10 plagues, and the last one is death of the firstborn. It's not, it's deep, right? Because my first child died, and that's a big part of the book. But she was supposed to die after 1 year, and instead she lived 33 more years. Go figure, miracle, right? So that's in 2. And so that's that all that in 1 chapter. And then it's let's get cosmic. So we're still in the present. We're talking about it like there were so many prophets. Yeah, but they were all guys. What happens with women? they say, well, in the old days, they said, shut up and get married. And now that I go like, here's Tales for the Modern Mystic. Before they stopped publishing everybody, I had completed my solo book. See, I was well known in the 70s. This was my great thing I led up to was Illuminations. So Illuminations was a book I edited. And it had many famous people in there. In fact, maybe later I'll flip through it. Okay, so Queen of Cosmos Comix then jumps 10,000 years in the future. Okay? Each volume follows this pattern. So in the very first one, they're going to go on a date to the Pleiades. These are all future people. See, let's have a nice time. And he invites her on a date, and they go to the Pleiades through a wormhole. And it's a harpathon. That's the name of their festival. Everybody playing the harp, and it's so awesome. Yeah. And then guess what? They're young. They're teenage. They fall in love, and they fly back, and they go, "Let's start a family." And the parents go, "Yay! I'm going to make you a good." And they make a family, and then they have kids, and they're very musical, and they make a band, and they play the Pleiades. And the angels say, "Whoa! Stop! This story is awful. Where is the conflict and drama?" And the queen says, "There was enough of that in the old days." So that gives you an example. But this is the heavy one. This is unrepeated in Let's Go to School. We're still 10,000 years in the future. Now, I drew this in 2015-16. The interesting thing is that it's all remote learning. It's because in those days when you went to school, basically you sat in a place with somebody there and you're sitting here and that's school, right? But this is all like remote learning. It's a machine and they've pushed the button for then and she's going to be your teacher and teach you about them. But then there's a news flash and it says, "We interrupt to tell you that they discovered wormholes in the fabric of time." So then the student comes back and thanks her. She's been chosen for the time mission. But you know what? Then the time teacher comes out and they have to learn what it was like. This is my heaviest statement. You have to know, if you're going 10,000 years to our time, there was rich and poor. So what? How could that be, right? And she goes, "Well, some people got a lot. Now, I live next door to a yuppie coffee shop. So they got the latte, I got a grande, I got a Porsche, I got a juicer, I got an cloud. Some people got to have a lot of this, which is us, all us middle class people, right? And each one of the poor people here owns these items. You know, a bed, a chair, a table, a car, an apartment, a dining room table, a bunch of bowls, a bunch of plates, a couple of clothing, some shirts, founder pens, some socks, some shoes. We all own all this stuff, right? Don't deny it. And look at the books behind you or whatever they are. So behind that wall of all the stuff that we own in the third world, all these people they're like, got hunger, gotta run, gotta live in the car, which has got even more pertinent, right? So that's now. So, but before that, the king, remember the divine right of kings? So before that, that's this one. You know, the king had everything. And then the poor people on the bottom had like nothing. But that was the way God made it, according to if you said no, they'd kill you in the days of the kings, right? And but before that, Pharaoh had it all, right? And that uses hieroglyphics. I got it all, right? He's got the plates, he's got the pyramids. But there's Moses on the bottom saying maybe not. Because after all, who do we talk about more nowadays? Right? And so then I bring it all back to when the male seized power. At the end of The Queen of Cosmos. And then in this book also includes The Realm of Karma Comics, my best story ever that I told you about. We put it in, and also the entire Tales for the Modern Mystic, which was the unpublished one from 70. Well, I did a private printing for a gallery show, but this Tales for the Modern Mystic is from the 70s. And in this one, it's Tibetan hippies in Oregon, right? We moved to the woods, make a machine very similar maybe to a computer, but it shows the gods and goddesses. And so they take them to the city to sell it, and they sell it. And they get on a plane and they go to India and they go to forbidden Tibet. Could not go to Tibet all through that period. So Nixon went to China and Tibet, whatever. That's what inspired this book. When Nixon came, because we didn't have a TV, but we were going to Mexico. We stopped in a motel. There was a TV and Nixon's coming down the thing from China. I'm like, oh, you could go to Tibet someday. Anyway, so then they become enlightened. See, the guru comes down and they do the Kundalini rises. And they do all the yoga. And then the 1,000-petal lotus of the brain, they meet in, and then they achieve enlightenment. And after they achieve enlightenment, see, then they can they can see the gods and goddesses out, clear, and also they can fly. And so they fly back, and that's the end of that book. But then it goes to the Book of Wonder, all about Oregon, and in the end, they all get together and come back and save the world. The hippie, the wonder people become angels. So anyway, that's volume 2. Volume 1, rather. And volume 2 has not been released by the publisher yet. but I made my own bunch of copies to have them in Comic-Con this year. I was honored. And,
Nice.
You know, it features book signings, and had no books, so I printed. So there's a few things about it, but this one is in full color. So let me get to the best page. Again, it starts in the
which is
Bible.
really important
And
with your work, the full color, because seeing your
I'm a
paintings and
painter.
stuff.
So look at the color in this. This is my take
yeah.
on the Acadian
Really
binding
nice.
of Isaac.
Yeah.
Because, see, here's the thing. So for a lot of years, 26 years, I did these intense biblical narrative paintings. Like everything in the book of Leviticus. Okay, 859 verses at 16 feet, and every single tiny picture is one of those verses. A whole picture of everything going on in
Wow.
Earth. Which is a lot. It's downstairs. I wish, see, if we did it on the mobile. If you ever want to do it again, and I'll figure out the phone thing with you, we could do it down in the gallery. That's the advantage of the phone. I can show you all these pictures.
Oh, yeah.
But in my paintings, which are unusual, nothing is that narrative. I use the comic technique. I use word balloons, and God's word balloon has dots, and Moses' doesn't, and Moses telling the children of Israel. Very comic-y. And, where am I going? Oh, yeah, but it's as the book says, right? I'm like painting what I feel that it says in the Jewish text. Also stories from the Talmud, all these texts, but I'm showing you in my narrative art, not so my comics. In my comics, I totally change it up and make it humorous, funny, with my own philosophy. Very different, and it's a lot of freedom and fun.
Yeah.
This one is
So Willie,
full color.
Willie, you said that are you still in California? Are you talking about the San Diego Comic-Con?
Yeah, that's the one I was the special guest, and I won this beautiful Ink Pod Award.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Very cute award. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is very
I
cute.
love
The
it.
Ink Pod Award for Achievement in Comic Arts.
Wow.
Congrats.
That's impressive.
Heck yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
That's it. See, and finally, because you had mentioned earlier, you know, when you started, you got into the early 70s and then kind of found like your way pushed out. You found yourself pushed out of it because of the male like dominance over the art form at the time. Does this feel like vindication, like getting the award and the
That
some of the
didn't happen yet,
recognition
but
you're
we're
getting
on
now?
our way. We're on our way to the vindication. But, you know, truths about the 70s are coming out now, actually at my Spotlight panel at San Diego. Trina came face to face with the fact that I actually was not excluded from the male books during the early era. I was in Back Cover Boogeyman, Back Cover Insect Fear, San Francisco Comic Book Company comic book, and also the one with the crumb covers. I have this great story in here. These are most of these I've been posting on Dan Fogel's Price Guide Facebook page lately. This
yeah.
like that. And some of these are like Insect Fear. This is a really cool one. Insect Fear number 2.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, I was kind of doing okay there. It was, you have to know how prejudice works. They never tell you, guys, you're a woman, or lately, oh, crazy woman or something. You should see the young. I don't want to go negative, but they make you feel like you're just not good. And that's where the award comes in very handy to your self-regard.
Right.
If I'm so not
absolutely.
good, then how come I get this award?
Right.
Just
Exactly.
But also, you asked where I live. I live on Barbara Mendes Square. Barbara Mendes Memorial Square, which is a joke. Dead. But still, and it says, I have the little plaque here. I should really grab it if we have a break. But it says, dedicated to an artist whose integrity magnifies the excellence of the South Robertson neighborhood.
Oh,
That's amazing.
It's completely painted. It's a huge building. I don't own it. My landlords are this amazing African-American couple, and I rent this apartment that I'm in now. Downstairs is a storefront, and I'm in business with them running this gallery. It happens to be my show. We should have done it down there. All my artists of this month. But outside, I painted the whole building. It's like a giant side of the building.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Totally transformed the whole neighborhood. And they even extended the sidewalk, and I have a concrete garden. Like the sidewalks are painted with these elaborate painted gardens. It's crazy.
That's great.
Wow.
All
Love
this
to
just
see that.
happens. It just happens.
Yeah, I mean, maybe what you can do is take a photo of it and then send it to us, and then I can include it. Yeah, I'd love to see it.
Absolutely, no problem.
Sounds amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, I have them right at the top of my photos.
nice.
So,
Well, that's
I have
amazing.
your email.
Yeah.
You mind if I ask? Sorry, Ben. I just want to real quick. So you go to Comic-Con, you know, and I've been to San Diego Comic-Con, and it's, you know, massive, filled with, so many people. And I just want to see, what was the reaction to your book at Comic-Con? What were people saying to you when they were coming to the booth?
So I won the award, and I was having a book signing session at my publisher's booth then.
Yes.
I love my book. It's pretty amazing. I mean, it's far out. I have a huge waiting public. That's what the males don't know. There's see, I have this little private, let's call it a church. Sitting on this corner, this place that I'm in. I'm like a prophetess. I'm a prophet. Told that many times, but I don't say have a public thing. Watch my webcam, and you will learn what I have to tell, or come to my class, or read my book. And I have some things. It's not like that. People wander in one by one, by two, by one, and we talk. And I get from them, and they get from me. We exchange these ideas. I'm not the only one thinking this. That this whole God is a man, and men are in charge of the religion, and we're not. That is such an oxymoron right there and there. And the power of women. I mean, it's just coming up now. We're in a new world. I did not create the conditions for this world. I did not create birth control. I did not create women voted 28 years the year I was born. Only 28 years they had to vote. I mean, that was in 1920. I didn't make that. And I didn't make a lot of things happen. But certainly, woman's lib. Trina actually raised my consciousness a lot when I had my first baby. And I told my husband, you're going to do half this work or not. And then 20 years that worked. So it's a journey, but I'm here to send it forward. And I'm not alone. And people love this bandwagon. And they love, it's not a bandwagon. It's just, let's tap into it. Let's tap into it.
Yeah. So Willie, when you were talking about, I'm sorry, was it Robert Lovejoy? Is that the right name? Sorry.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. You said that he had reached out to you after so much time. So what was it that was driving that connection to reaching out to you? Was it to talk about some of your previous work?
No, he was selected to be the editor of the Underground Comics section of the History of Illustration. This giant college textbook. That's where you have to know it gets better, because once it came out, that's what I was so thrilled about and inspired. This is a college textbook. Look how thick it is. The History of Illustration. So then when it was delayed a bit. But when it came out, I'm on the page with Crumb. And this blows the mind of people who come in, who's heard of Robert Crumb, which is not everybody nowadays. But if you've heard of Robert Crumb and who's this on the same page? It's me. This is the realm of karma.
Wow. That's amazing.
That's incredible.
Cool. Well deserved.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. But these are just the miracles that kept me around. Because what they want you to do is go away when they reject you. But I neglected to do that.
I'm wondering, what got you into the sequential art form of storytelling? So, I mean, obviously, it seems like art is a passion of yours, and you have your paintings and all that. But what came first in that? Was it the paintings and then the comics, or was it the comics and then that started developing more into the other art?
I was in my 20s. I was chefed up in the East Village with my incredible husband, Rick, who was in the group Image, the psychedelic band that was the sister band of the Grateful Dead. And again, in my entire 20s, everything that our social milieu was husband, the musician. We hung with the Grateful Dead, Country Joe and the Fish, paid our way out there to San Francisco because Rick was going to make a record. So that was, I didn't hang, I wasn't I'm a comic artist, but I did share a home. My husband and I shared a house with Kim and Trina in San Francisco. And that's when I went to comics parties. And that's when I knew everybody. And I lived near, I used to go down to Don Donahue's Apex Novelties and print my stuff and posters. But try to remind me of the actual question. Oh, I know. Because see, my first husband, Rick, he happened to be best friends with Kim Deitch from Westchester, which is a county north of New York City. Like a suburb of New York is Westchester County. And he was friends with Kim Deitch. Kim Deitch was our friend. So Kim Deitch was also in the East Village, and he began to do Sunshine Girl for the East Village Other. He was our good friend. He'd come by our apartment always and show us this new comic he did, Sunshine Girl. And actually the first time. And then he went to the East Village Other, and they did print it. It became a running thing. And then he was selected at one point to be the editor of Gothic Blimpworks. And so meantime, he's our friend, he's visiting, and he sees all my art. Also, I started to make spoofs based on my friendship with Kim. Also, we collected Marvels at the time. I wasn't into it, but my husband got me into it. So we're big Marvel collectors. We like Doctor Strange and Fantastic Four.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So all this is going on, and so I started making funny spoofs, like Help Man instead of Superman, like a funny spoof on Superman, but like it's funny, so it was like Help Man. So at that time, Kim asked me to do a comic. Now my first comics work in the movement was for the Gothic blimp works, and it wasn't sequential, it was big splash panels, but using word balloons. You can Google it, the back covers of Gothic blimp works. They were like, I guess splash panels, you can call them, large single comics pages. And I was known for that. I did at least 4 of them, of those, and also color. So Kim Deitch taught me, that was the thing about comics. For $1, you could buy something that was like color. Color was unreachable in those days. So Kim Deitch taught me the color separations, because you have the black and white original, and you get these 3 pieces of acetate with grid marks and you put the yellow and the cyan and the magenta and the zipatone, so that, for example, real red is magenta and yellow, and flesh is like zipatone red with zipatone yellow, right? And you cut it all out. And Kim taught me to do that for those Gothic blimp works. And then we moved to San Francisco, and I think I did some early comics before that. It's the one I posted it on Dan's site just a few weeks ago, called Easy Come, Easy Go. It was in San Francisco Comic Company. Now, what's the name? San Francisco Comic Book. It was the one with the chrome cover. I think I already showed it to you. In this book is my story, Easy Come, Easy Go. But the funny thing is, the story takes place in the East Village, in our apartment. It's about the human being in that year in Central Park. We go to the be-in. But it's not about us, it's made up. But that was, I think, one of my first sequentials. And then, of course, so this is kind of famous. Then Trina began It Ain't Me, Babe. And we were like this. We were sharing a house before that. And she was we gave her our apartment when we moved to Oregon. So I was totally in that book. But first we moved away from that house to the Noe Valley, I guess, when we did that book. But she still, I don't know where she is. But because she split up with Kim, ultimately we gave her our apartment and moved to Oregon. But I had to do a story for her book. And it's classic because I was pregnant. It's the classic picture of I'm the one in the picture, and it's in women's comics, anthology. It's in a lot of reprinted places. It's a picture of all the women in that book. And I have this giant belly and a big afro and a mandala dress on the belly.
Yeah.
So in other words, we shot the photo. I was 9 months pregnant. And when I had the baby, it was a girl. And for the story, I needed monumental letters. So it was about a woman that, you know how they spell on the desert in the movies, monumental letters? So I O-M-A.
Oh, yeah.
O-M-A, Oma. And that's the story. Then when the kid was born, I named her Oma. But what does that mean in Greek? Do you know? Sarcoma?
No.
Carcinoma? Sarcoma? Carcinoma? Blastoma? Tumor.
Tumor.
It's in my book, too. Tumor. Nobody. Why they name her Oma? Nobody reads Greek anymore. She changed her own name to Annie halfway through. You got to read these comics. It's all in Because when she saw the play Annie, she named herself Annie, and she was Annie after that. And she lost her speech, so she'd be like with a sign. This is the sign for A. Like, I'm Annie, you know. And she was just like totally Annie.
Yeah. Oh,
Willie,
So
you are. I could sit and listen to you for an hour.
I'm really a talker.
No,
I love it. I love
This is
it. I
great.
love it. I love it. Hearing
I
these
used to
stories
say
is
that I like to
fantastic.
be on camera. In the olden days, there was like a red light that showed the camera was on. So
Right.
now I'm getting attention. I tell you the truth, it's like people always like look away, like, you know. But the red light.
Oh,
says
my
that
gosh.
there's an audience.
That's right. We're getting
Well,
all
I
of
have a lot
this.
to tell, so I'm ready for the attention that the world wants to hear about. Positive, interesting, miraculous. I live in a cosmic bubble, as they say.
I was going to say, I have something not related to comics. I was just curious. Sounds like you were in some really neat places around the country. And do you ever, I guess, regret, or do you ever want to go back to the East Coast, being on the West Coast? Is there any desire to go back?
Have you been through an LA winter?
No.
No, because there's another thing. I have a magic garden here in Soho, and I'd say a 4-block radius, okay? 4 city blocks. I'm like the artist, you know, apartment is. It's like they go, people I don't know go, oh, aren't you the artist? But who lives now? My apartment's on the 2nd floor because they replaced the sign and they put it really super up high, and I have the whole painted beautiful with this flower, but I really have to coach people all the way to the top, and then they see the sign that I'm telling you about. But it's right outside my window, my apartment, When I look out, it's like right there. I mean, there's a lot of things here that we're just playing it out. My landlords are in their 80s. I'm in my mid-70s now. So we're all just playing it out together. We give each other energy. These older people and me, like, they ride their bicycles to the beach every week, and they're in their 80s.
Wow.
I'm telling
That's
you.
great.
So I think
That's
we
awesome.
give each other energy, and we keep going, and we stand for a lot of things, including our place always. When I had my own gallery in the 90s downtown. In fact, there's stories, all these stories. And but the hallmark of my galleries is the inclusiveness. Everybody. In our case, it's the old, the young, and every other kind of person.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I love it. I love this, just putting art into the world and making it a better place. I absolutely love
Especially
it.
because they're African American and I'm such a Jew. And then we had the Korean lady showing. It was like,
Bring it all together. Bring it all
That's right.
together.
That's
I
right.
love it.
Well, I love the energy.
Yeah. Hey, so I just want to let you know, Barbara, I actually shared out on Reddit that we were interviewing you, and we had some people send in some questions that they were hoping for us to ask you because they were all excited. So if you don't mind, I was going to ask one of those, which is, were you inspired by any of the other counterculture art or creators around that time? That's one of the questions.
no, only by their freedom to be who they were that gave me the freedom to be who I was. It was total freedom. I'm not like them at all. They're like sex-crazed men. Disgusting. I really don't like a lot of this stuff. Honest to God. No. But now let's talk stylistically. The original painting is behind me. You know what? For this new cover, I allowed myself to be inspired by the art of Jack Kirby, which I think,
Yeah.
you've all seen it. But he does those bursts, and then there's a lot of this dark clouds and dark blobs that a lot of visual excitement. And I was not successful necessarily, but that's something that inspired this particular piece.
Looks gorgeous.
But the whole
nice.
point of underground comics and my art and my painting and everything about me is do it new. I was put here to make something new
Yeah.
Sure.
and share it.
Heck yeah.
I love it.
One of the other questions, if you guys don't mind me asking.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
So I like this one. While you were producing your first underground comics, how were you paying the bills? Getting food on the table and stuff.
I have to think because I only lived by God's hand my whole life. I'm not getting Social Security because I didn't have enough straight jobs, as we used to call them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the ways now are more recent. But look, let's see. I had a young husband. First, he was a student. I don't remember. Maybe his parents sent him a little money because he was a student. I know. Ha 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 ha. Okay, thanks. You reminded me. So there we are. One thing I would not do in the hippie era was move in with the commune. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm not living with the commune. Everybody lived in. Our case was the group image, so there was like the loft. The loft, and a lot of people lived in the loft, a lot of dogs, and there was a lot of communes also up north in Oregon that era too. Many people are not commune. No. So that is when I would go to temp positions and get a job as a temporary worker. But the best job I had during this era was alert messenger service. Late 60s. Well, you might know when the New York Jets won the Super Bowl with Joe Namath. The New York, what was it? Am I getting the name wrong?
No,
you got it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, my boss flew down for that. But I love being a messenger. I was on 57th Street. There wasn't even a fax machine in these days. So if you wanted to get something across town, an image to somebody, you had the messenger come and bring it. And most of them were older alcoholic guys, and I was a young woman, so I'd go like, "Whoa, pretty woman!" But also, so we're out in the street, and I don't know if you ever been out there and had like the hot pretzels,
Oh yeah.
on the streets. Oh man! And I still smoke Camels, but that was a great job. But the answer is, I guess when push came to shove and the rent ran out, we were in danger. God forbid my husband. I was the one that got a temporary job. So then we moved to San Francisco. Now you're bringing it back. So then we lived with Katrina at Edgar Place. None of them had a straight job. But again, so then I worked in a bookstore in San Francisco when I was like pregnant. If you didn't know it, when you're 4 months pregnant, you can go on welfare. So up until the 4 months, I worked in that bookstore. So the kids are a freaking meal ticket. The whole childbearing time. We got 8 to families with dependent children.
Yeah.
And and it went farther because when I finally did leave my husband after 20 years and went out on my own with my handicapped daughter, so then I had an income. Briefly, that's when I had the gallery downtown. Remember I said I'm living downtown?
Oh,
so
yeah.
So when I had SSI, her SSI, and also IHS says it's because you're living with somebody and helping them. I forget.
Gotcha.
That you live there and you help them and you get paid for it because they would have to be in an institution otherwise. And I would make a tiny bit of child support. So, but then when she moved out for me, I went to 0. And that's when God took over. Because at one point she did have to move away from me to a facility. And then my income went to 0. And I'm an artist. And I like it. And I have a painting of Eliza on the ice from the image from Uncle Tom's Cabin. Now, if you read that book again, it turns out Eliza tells that story a lot. First, it really happened. She jumps on the ice with her child and she makes it to the other side. But then she's telling about it. And they asked her, Eliza, how did you have the courage? How did you know? And she said, I did not know what to do, but I just could jump to the next iceberg and pray that she would get across this river. If you don't know the story, she's escaping from the slave hunter with her baby in this icy river to freedom. And that's my image. I don't know where the next iceberg. I'm not sure I'll be able to land on the next iceberg or I'll get drowned in the river. It's an image I do over and over. I wish I could turn the camera. I have 69 visual journals called day books. And in the front, it's everything I did in my day. A lot. And this is raising children, all kind of stuff that you didn't take a picture of. But it's all there, daily life. But in the back, each one is back to front, all the crazy ideas. Ideas for comics, paintings, everything. And I had something in mind when I mentioned it, but I lost it on this topic. But that's okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
Relevant.
I love it.
That's amazing.
So, do you have any more questions from people on Reddit?
I do have one more. So during that time, in the late 60s, early 70s, that underground art styles were becoming kind of popular in mainstream publications. Were you ever approached to do some commercial work, like flyers, playbills, advertising, build magazine, or book
I never had a
illustrations?
commercial. No, I always make flyers. I'm the queen of the underground flyer. I'm in some ephemera collection because every time I ever did an art show, I'd make a flyer and a poster. But my stuff never caught on commercially. I was rejected all my things like that. And I never, when it went a little bit mainstream with, Fantagraphics and all that, I never was in it then. And also, anyway, I just wasn't in it in that era. I had no contact with commercial success.
Well, that's all good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, as you're finding out.
That's why we call it underground.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's the freedom, because it's the freedom.
Yeah. Oh, no, you go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's the freedom to be something and discover something and take it farther. Yeah.
I was just going to say, from getting to talk to all these different people who we've gotten to speak with, we found, at least I feel like we found that commercial success doesn't always mean quality, right? And vice versa. So if you don't have commercial success, it doesn't mean that the work is not, great or important or anything like that. We've been finding
commercial success is about a market.
Artists and storytellers. Exactly.
It's about feeding consumers in a market. And that's what's wrong with our entire entertainment, media, artistic world, because what sells the most, the lowest common denominator, which is a stupid man with a stupid thing, a stupid stick behind up, and we gotta feed that market, and that was a whole myth that the Friends of Lulu is this awesome group. I learned about it at Comic-Con. They have panels. It's not there now, but it's really smart women and lawyers in Berkeley that researched this whole problem of keeping the women out of comics. And they also worked with the comic owners into saying, don't you want a 50% more audience? And to bust the myth that women don't read comics, girls don't like comics. That was our help to bring attention to this phenomenon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, your work is just beautiful. You know, looking at your website, I know Ben's going to put all the links to everything underneath the video. But I just hope that this video helps to open up people's eyes to see some of your work and just the beautiful colors that you put together and just it's just such a unique and different look than really any of the other stuff that we've had a chance to talk to some other artists.
It's
and
because
it's just beautiful.
It's driven by. I want to give a little spiel.
Go for it.
I really just wrote it down today. This is new today.
Yeah.
Because I'm inspired by your attention.
Oh.
Look, almost every culture has had a spiritual element to it, right? Except maybe now, and we're worshiping consumerism. However, here's my thing in a couple of words. Talk to the sky. So my idea is there is vibrations. First of all, vibrations are real. And second of all, there is a force out there. There is something that talking to the sky is going to work. How come Jesus saved so many people, right? How come Judaism is filled with miracle stories? Hindu, they're all filled with miracle stories. Tibet, oh my God, you got to believe this stuff. You're going to run up there and be able to fly and walk fast and everything. You talk to the sky in your own language. You just talk to the sky. You can name it whatever you want. There's like an overarching force, and just try talking to it and asking it and speaking to it. And it's called, you could call it praying, but that's where I think it gets too routine. And organized religions maybe take on all the trappings of all the cultural. It's about impressing everybody with your religiosity rather than really trying to just talk to the sky and go with And my point to make about all this is I want to ask you 200 years ago when the king, that Louis I showed you, the king of the divine right king and the pharaoh and the emperor, how did they make a light? A candle, right? If they had a big party, they're rich, so they had 1,000 candles in the ballroom, right? Chandeliers full of candles. Now, my question is, where was the electricity at that time? Where was it? It was there the whole time, correct? But we didn't know. Nobody knew.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Once they discovered it, we're powering the whole world with it. And now the poorest person, click a light, it's light. All this stuff, it's all, we use it so much. Electricity. But where was it 200-300 years ago? It was there, but nobody acknowledged this force could light everything. And to me, that's what we need to discover, some of these psychic forces of vibes, of interpersonal, they're really real, how we can, like that. They should teach them.
Yeah.
And also I saw a thing about a UFO, and they go, it couldn't be this, it couldn't be that, it could only be, and these are the scientists, right, saying this is the real one, right? And anyway, they said it must be sails, solar sails. It's like in the shape of like sails. It's in my comic. Read Queen got those comics. And the MC fly with solar stellar sails. Because why wouldn't it be? I think the age of the machine is doomed. I don't see the future as like large machines, bigger machines. We're going to go beyond the machines. So I will stop, but those are some of the ideas I like to think about. And I like to tell stories about them.
I love it. You got a very unique take on the world. Absolutely. Well, it was an absolute pleasure getting to know you and to see your art and learn more about you. Just thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. And I will email you some of those images of the building and the square.
Yes, please do.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Willie.
Well, that was just another absolutely amazing episode to meet such a beautiful artist. I hope that this, directs you to go and seek her out and see her art. And we'll see you on the next one.